Welcome back to NBA Cinema. I want to take this clip from the Gilbert Arenas podcast, something him, Kenyon Martin, and Brandon Jennings were speaking in depth about. And I got to thinking, they have a valid point, and I started to think about teams and as far as veteran leadership, because he's speaking about, the James Harden trade, and his son was obviously involved in that. And he talked about KJ's experiences in the locker room as far as veteran leadership or lack thereof. Even said Eric Gordon was one of the veterans in Houston, but wouldn't say anything because he wanted to be away from there. So when he was in the NBA, you had vets, right, that would take younger guys under the wing. Youngster, we don't do it like that. We don't do this, we don't do that. And sometimes it gets overblown, right? We know the locker room Jordan came into on The Last Dance and what was going on in that locker room. That's irresponsible too. So we can't just always act like the oldest stuff was the best way of doing things. Even though, I enjoyed that era of basketball. But Kenyon's point is that these youngsters don't have any guidance. What Houston attempted to do, they brought in Fred VanVleet. You look at Charlotte, they do have Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier, but all in all, they're a pretty young team. You look at OKC, very young team. And his point was teams are going either young or old. There is no in between. And all in all, if you look at it, there's probably some validity to the point he's trying to drive home there. Maybe not literally, but as far as who's getting the lion's share of the minutes, you got Golden State, who for a long time didn't play Jonathan Kuminga, and they went with their veterans. Or you have, Houston, Jabari Smith. And I'm talking about prior to this year, too, when they didn't even have Fred VanVleet and those guys and Dylan Brooks. But, prior to this year, they'll put out a team. Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Jabari Smith Jr., Sengun. So where's the veteran leadership? And they were talking about how that affected Ja Morant as well, not having veterans. Like, not on this podcast, but I'm saying that was one of the overall critiques, that Memphis didn't have anyone in place to show Ja the way. But without further ado, let's check out what they had to say. I know y'all tired of hearing me, so let's check out this podcast piece.
You learning bad behaviors early, you're going to have bad behaviors. And if you learn you got positive people around, that's what it's going to be. And KJ's, I speak to him coming in, going into his fourth year. And people that's around him, like guys with the Clippers, like the younger guys that's older than him, and they think they age. Mm-hmm. Like they got a couple 26, 27-year-olds, and because how he carry himself, because he got me. He got me there to, no, that ain't it, dog. That's it, do this, do that. No, don't do that, don't. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is being a vet. Seeing guys' behaviors, okay, that's good, yeah, you keep doing that. Praise him when he's doing good, mm-hmm. Tell him, okay, you keep that up, or if he on some BS, you pull him to the side, that ain't gonna rock around here. Like, you need to change this habit, you need to do that, you need to do this different. It's the way we are around here, and that's what you need. And the NBA would be a lot better if you had more of that going on some of these teams. Mm-hmm. But they don't want the influences of veterans around telling guys the real, because they want to influence their thought process on.
That's so backwards.
You need to sit down.
It's so backwards. That's so backwards. It's backwards. It's so backwards.
And that's what it is.
They still getting, like, your value. That's why your value of the players is still, you're jeopardizing it because there's no.
Just think about it. The teams that's veteran teams, they're veteran teams. They don't have a mix of vet and young guys. They got a bunch of young guys that ain't playing, and the veterans that's playing. There's no, or you got a team full of young guys.
Yep.
There's no in between. There's no good mixture of it where you got the two. Like, just take the Jonathan Kuminga kid in Golden State. In a good situation if they hold on to him, if they keep bringing him on, follow Draymond. Teach Jonathan this, go do this, but be that.
The Warriors just picked up his option too, I believe.
Yeah, so that's a good thing for him, to have that and have that toolage and that around you. You need that.
Yeah.
And just see what he is in 3 years, because he had all of that. When those guys are getting ready to walk away, you got that.
Yep.
Instead of moving on from him after 2 years, like, He ain't what he thought he was gonna be. We spent the 4th pick on him for nothing. Got to get like, no, that ain't the way to do it. He ain't learned nothing.
Yep.
He was learning from a 19. Kid come in at 19. The next year he's 20, right? You're in the lottery. You got a 19-year-old. You're picking again. Team ain't too much this year, so now you got a 21-year-old, a 20-year-old. Now you drafting another 19-year-old. What do you ain't?
Now the 21-year-old is the veteran.
KJ was the vet in Houston, dog. That's him. He had been around for 3 years. You drafted Jalen, Jabari, Josh Christopher, Alpine Sengun. And you got Eric Gordon over here, and he ain't saying a jack shit to nobody because he don't want to be there. So if you're going to have a vet in there, you at least have a vet that's going to correct somebody. And you got Kevin Porter in there. You got all these.
Yeah, you got all. Yeah.
Like Charlotte. It was like
so when I'm sitting around with them dudes, I'm going to watch them on the road or going to win the hotel lobby, and I'm talking to these dudes, and everything that I'm saying is like, it's the word to them because they ain't heard none of this shit. They all locked in like shit, like give me more OG, like talk to me, like they would say, well, what would you do in this age? How would you handle this? And because they ain't heard none of this shit.
So what are they doing at rookie transition? Nothing.
Because nobody.
Nothing. They got guys there with the suits and ties and.
But they asked me to come to rookie transition one time.
Cornball. They got the cornballs
I kept
in
it
there.
a buck in that bitch, and they ain't asked me to come back since.
And that's the bad part. Like,
for real?
I did it one time.
And they never asked you to come back. That's crazy.
So I understand what Kmart is saying here. You know, not having any veteran leadership for a young team, and you look at someone like Kevin Porter Jr., who's been a guy of second chances, you know, a young talent like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith. Now, Jabari Smith, he has a father who probably could help guide him a little bit, but those other guys, and you think about the things Kevin Porter's father went through prior to him, and how, you know, some people took him under their wing and helped guide him to the NBA. We saw what happened with him recently, unfortunately. But, man, an unstable environment. You look at Charlotte, right? You look at – and this has been a concern about Brandon Miller going to Charlotte. You look at Book Knight. You look at Miles Bridges. You look at some of the other things you heard coming out of Charlotte. You look at even, like, P.J. Washington ain't do nothing to nobody, but you see him impregnating – Brittany Renner, you know, and it's like, good gracious, like, you know, I ain't saying that other people don't do that. They don't get. Paul George did something similar with the lady he got, but, you know, Brittany Renner's telling you who she is from a distance, and for him to go try to wipe her up and then whatever happens, happens. And he did it again. He's got a new one with one in the oven. Just similar to Brittany Renner, you know what I'm saying? So I just look at the instability of some of these environments and how these young men should have a blueprint to follow on and off the court. You can't make anyone do anything. What I'm saying is you need to have the proper people in place to offer the best advice. And what they do with that is on them. They're grown men at the end of the day, but some of the stuff is non-negotiable. You know, some of the locker room things, some of the like team meeting, things around the team, building camaraderie with the guys. You have to have that in place. You know, Golden State has been able to do that. I feel like when Udoka, before he got in his scandal or whatever, I feel like he was great for the Boston Celtics and got them to kind of turn that corner. They got to the finals and, you know, they had an opportunity to win, didn't come through. Steph was superhuman, but, you know, I feel like him coming from that Spurs culture, he cut from that cloth, and he was able to speak to them. And Brown and Tatum, you know, accepted the coaching, and it went really well. I don't know if it goes that well if they would have had Kyrie at that moment in his life, you know, because those two players were ready to ascend to new heights. You know, you look at Milwaukee, another team, you know, when they won it, veteran team. So there, I see what Kmart is saying as far as the environment and who's on the team, who's around the team. What type of veterans do you have if you have them? They have to have a voice. And I don't mean you got to scream and yell at everybody, but you do need to have a perspective, and you need to have experiences to share with these young players that they can pull from and recognize when certain factors and stressors and things around them in their new world and their new environment is taking place. They have someone who's warned them or told them something similar to what is actually happening to them. I think that is huge for them to have, man. So I hear what Kmart is saying 1000%. I want to know you guys' perspective on this, though. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.